صدق الله العلي العظيم. أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين. وصل اللهم على سيدنا ونبينا محمد وعلى آله الطاهرين. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. ربي أنطقنا بالهدى وألهمنا بالتقوى. أما بعد، فقد قال الله عز وجل في كتابه الحكيم وهو أصدق القائلين. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تتخذوا عدوي وعدوكم أولياء تلقون إليهم بالمودة وقد كفروا بما جاءكم من الحق. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. I begin in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There is no doubt that it's due to His kindness and generosity. He provides for us opportunities such as these where we gather together in remembrance of Him, Tabarra wa ta'ala. Inshallah, tonight, inshallah, we will finish up the discussion that we had started for a couple of weeks now on the topic of Tawalla and Tabarra. And I wanted to finish up this conversation or this discussion on the wafat of our second Imam, Imam Hassan al-Mujtaba alayhi salam. Ma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. But unfortunately I could not make it, so inshallah we will finish this discussion today. Before we begin this discussion, tonight inshallah we'll be discussing about Tabarra. We have discussed Tawalla, we've discussed the foundations of this, wajibat, but tonight inshallah we finish off the discussion with Tabarra. Tabarra is generally a more controversial topic because people have different views as far as what is Tabarra and how to do Tabarra and how to manifest this wajibat. So today inshallah we're going to discuss this in as much detail as possible so all questions are answered. And we'll discuss it the way, and basically it's not my opinion that I am giving today. I'm giving the Shari'i opinion based on what we have been taught by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. That being said, because it is a controversial topic, I would like the people, you who are listening and those who are listening to it at home, to not form an opinion until the entire lecture has been discussed. And until the entire topic has been finalized, which will inshallah answer all questions which are coming up about Tabarra. And I don't want what I say to be taken out of context either. I have tried my best to pick my words very carefully today because I understand the importance of this topic. So inshallah, I don't want my words to be misconstrued and applied in different ways. If you do not understand what I have said, go back and listen to the tape again, inshallah. It will clarify for you what is intended with Tabarra. That being said, I will take slightly more time today, inshallah. And this is because I will not be here for 2 weeks. So I'm taking my time that I would have recited in the following week, inshallah, today. If you don't like it, email me, inshallah. That is fine. Or you can go to sleep. So tonight, inshallah, we discuss Tabarra. Before we finalize, or before we get into this topic, last Thursday we had that interactive discussion, and one of the things that I said I would like for this community to do together is that after the ziyarat is recited, in the end, while everybody is standing, while we are standing, after the 12th Imam, Ajjalallahu ta'ala farajahu sharif, Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. After his ziyarat is recited, we should together recite Allahumma kun li waliyik. Yeah? This is something that I want to get our community doing, and the responsibility is on you as a community. The speaker or the reciter may not know that we recite this ziyarat, so somebody from the crowd has to begin this dua even if people are moving around. I don't think it happened on Monday, though I had announced about it on Thursday before that. So inshallah we will start this practice today, and it will happen in Jummah and all other functions as well, inshaAllah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So tonight we discuss about Tabarra. Tabarra's definition is to express aloofness and hatred towards those people and those things which God hates. Yeah? To express aloofness, to be free of, bara'a, to be bari of. Okay, and it is also to express animosity and hatred towards those people or those things which God hates. Okay, and this is a Quranic principle. We have established it clearly over the last 3 lectures that I had given. But I'll quote one verse which I think is a very beautiful verse. And go back home and read this and ponder over it. It's Surah number 58, verse number 22. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, La tajidu qawman yu'minuna billahi wal yawmil akhir yuwadduna man haddallah wa rasulahu. He says, you shall not find a people who believe in Allah and the Day of Judgment befriending those who are in opposition to Allah and His Prophet. You will not find a community who believes, who will befriend those who were in opposition to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and to His Prophet. وَلَوْ كَانُوا آبَاءَهُمْ أَوْ أَبْنَاءَهُمْ أَوْ إِخْوَانَهُمْ أَوْ أَشِيرَتَهُمْ. Even though they may be their father or their brothers or their kinsfolk, if they are in opposition to God and His Prophet, you will not find a mu'min who will befriend such a person. Yeah? And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues in this verse and He says, it is these who do not befriend these type of people who Allah has impressed faith upon them. Yeah? That faith is then given to them as a gift, and it is they who He has strengthened with an inspiration from Him, and He will cause them to enter gardens beneath which rivers flow, abiding therein. Allah is well pleased with them and they are well pleased with God. وَرَضِيَ اللَّهُ عَنْهُمْ وَرَضُوا عَنْهُ. Yeah? أُولَٰئِكَ حِزْبُ اللَّهِ أَلَا إِنَّ حِزْبَ اللَّهِ هُمُ الْمُفْلِحُونَ. He says that indeed it is they who are the ones who are pleased with God and God is pleased with them, and they are considered to be part of Hizbullah, the party of God. Indeed it is only those who are in the party of God or part of the party of God who are successful. Right? So what we understand from this verse is that the action of doing tabarra will result in 5 very important things. It will result in the completion of faith, because God says, it is these people who have done tabarra that I will write faith for them in their hearts. I will impress upon them Iman. And then it is they who will receive the help from God. It is they who will receive the reward of paradise. It is they who will earn the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And it is they who will be called Hizbullah. Joining the party of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This brings about a very interesting then set of questions. Okay, if we know that tabarra, not befriending those who oppose God and His Prophet, is a wajibat, then it brings about some very interesting questions that we must answer. The first question that we must answer is then, are we supposed to hate all non-Muslims? This is the first question. God says those who oppose Him and the Prophet must not be befriended. So the question is, are we supposed to hate all non-Muslims? Or are we supposed to hate all non-mu'min? Those who are not Shia, are we supposed to hate everybody else? This is the first question that we need to answer. The second question is then, how do we manifest this hate? Hatred we know, opposition we know is wajib upon us. Who it is we have to do it for, we'll discuss. The second question is then, how do we manifest this hate? Is it through verbal? Is it in the heart? Or is it physical manifestation that we have to take? And then the third question is it really wise in today's environment to portray hate or animosity against other people? Considering how Muslims are labeled today. Media portrays many of us as terrorists, as those who are violent. So then, portraying this type of animosity and hatred, is it wise Is it smart in today's day and age? So these are the three questions that we need to answer for us to get a full understanding of tabarra. The first question is, are we supposed to hate all non-Muslims? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in surah number 60, Surah Al-Mumtahana, this is the very surah which in the first four verses establishes the concept of Tawalla and Tabarra. Yeah? Go and read surah number 60. Yeah? I believe the entire surah is about Tawalla and Tabarra. Right? So in surah number 60, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in verses number 8 and 9, He says, لا ينهاكم الله عن الذين لم يقاتلوكم في الدين ولم يخرجوكم من دياركم أن تبرهم وتقسطوا إليهم إن الله يحب المقسطين. He says, Allah does not forbid you to have friendly relationships with those who have not fought you on the account of religion. Yeah, very clear, isn't it? Allah does not forbid you in having friendly relationships with those who have not fought you on account of religion and have not driven you out of your homeland. And He does not forbid you from showing kindness and dealing with them justly. Indeed, Allah loves the people who are just. Yeah? So the benchmark is laid by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we are not allowed to have animosity. We are not allowed to treat people who have not fought us on account of our religion unjustly. Yeah? This is that ideology that some have that we can steal from kuffar. It is okay, they are kafir, we can steal from them. No. Yeah? God has clearly said that people who have not fought you on account of religion or have not driven you out of your homes on account of religion, you must treat them kindly and justly. Right? And again, the key phrase here is on account of religion. Therefore, if somebody hates Jaffer and they don't like Jaffer and they don't like the way Jaffer speaks, I have no right to show them animosity or hatred. Animosity and hatred belongs for the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala only. Yeah? It is tabarra for the sake of God, not tabarra for my sake. Yeah? Or because I don't like you, for example. No, God has laid the foundation. Likewise, in the very next verse, in verse number 9, He says, إِنَّمَا يَنْهَاكُمُ اللَّهُ عَنِ الَّذِينَ قَاتَلُوكُمْ فِي الدِّينِ وَأَخْرَجُوكُمْ مِنْ دِيَارِكُمْ وَظَاهَرُوا عَلَىٰ إِخْرَاجِكُمْ أَنْ تَوَلَّوْهُمْ وَمَنْ يَتَوَلَّهُمْ فَأُولَٰئِكَ هُمُ الظَّالِمُونَ. Beautiful. He says, rather, Allah forbids you from having friendly relationships with those who fought you on account of your religion. He forbids you. Yeah? And haram for you to have friendly relationships with those who have fought you on account of your religion or have driven you out on account of your religion from your homes or have supported others in driving you out. You are forbidden to have friendly relationships with them, and whoever among you does, then he is regarded amongst the zalimeen. Yeah? He is regarded amongst those who are wrongdoers or disbelievers in some accounts, all right? In some translations. So here Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has clearly defined to us who it is that we must do tabarra to. Right? It is people who have fought us on account of our religion, whether it is through suicide bombings, whether it is through oppression, economic suppression, whatever it is that people have fought us because I am a Shia, because I am a Muslim, then tabarra upon them becomes wajib from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? And very interestingly, right, it is not only the people who have fought me, and it is not only the people who have suppressed me or have driven me out of my home. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, وَظَاهَرُوا عَلَىٰ إِخْرَاجِكُمْ. And they supported others in your oppression. Yeah? This is very interesting. So it's not only the people who have physically done something to me. If somebody supports that action, tabarra becomes wajib upon them as well. Right? And why? Our first Imam, Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, Ayyuhan nas, in sermon number 201 of Nahjul Balagha, he says, Ayyuhan nas, innama yajma'un nas ar-ridha was-sukht. He says, O people, indeed what gathers man together is their agreement and disagreement on a certain subject matter, on a certain matter. What gathers people together, is their agreement, not the action itself, is their agreement and disagreement on certain matters. For only, Imam alayhi salam continues, and he says, for only one individual killed the camel of Samud, but Allah held all of them accountable and punished them all because they were all pleased with the action. Because they were pleased with that action, God held the entire community accountable for what they have done. And this is what we recite in Ziyarat-e-Waritha as well, isn't it? What our sixth Imam, Imam Jaffer as-Sadiq alayhi salam, Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. He says, فَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً قَتَلَتْكَ وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً ظَلَمَتْكَ وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً سَمِعَتْ بِذَلِكَ وَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. He says, may the la'an of Allah be upon those who killed you, and may the la'an of Allah be upon those who oppressed you, and may the la'an of Allah be upon those who heard about it and were pleased with it. So this tabarra that we have to do is not only on the people who physically oppress us because of religion, but it is also wajib upon those who support those who are doing those actions. So here this answers the first question very clearly. Who are we supposed to do tabarra upon? And I believe Surah Al-Mumtahana verses 8 and 9 has clearly answered this question. The next question that we ask is, how then do we manifest this tabarra? How do we manifest this hatred for these groups of people whom it is wajib upon us to have animosity? The first way is through the feeling in the heart. That means in my heart, I am doing tabarra against certain type of people. In my heart, I have animosity and hatred against a certain type of people and certain actions of people. This is the bare minimum requirement. As we said, Tabarra and Tawalla are actually manifestations of the feelings that I have in my heart. So actually this is the feeling or the emotion of Tabarra that I may have is not really Tabarra. Tabarra is acting it out, But the bare minimum requirement is that feeling in my heart. The second one we can say is through physical action. Physical action can be broken up into two kinds. Physical action which is violent, and physical actions which is non-violent. Non-violent physical tabarra would include, for example, writing letters in protest, protesting against certain type of oppression, economic boycott of people who are oppressing Shias, for example. These are all physical manifestations of tabarra which is wajib upon us. The violent type of tabarra is that which is not permitted except through the permission from our maraja. And this is the same rule with Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi Anil Munkar. Nahi Anil Munkar, as we know in Amr bil Ma'ruf, has to be done in 3 levels. The first one is feeling in the heart. The second one is to manifest it through our actions or verbally. The third is physical action. Physical action is not permitted unless our marja gives us permission to do it. In that same way, physical violent actions of tabarra are not permitted. Unless, of course, it is because I am defending myself. If somebody takes a physical stance towards me, then of course I have to defend myself and do tabarra in this way. Otherwise, I am not permitted to be violent in my actions of tabarra. Otherwise, there's no difference between us and them. There's no difference if we do the same type of actions that they do. The third way of doing tabarra is through verbal portrayal of tabarra. To verbally manifest or act out my animosity and hatred towards those people whom tabarra is wajib upon me. Yeah? Now, verbal manifestation of tabarra can be done in three ways. Okay? The first way that verbal manifestation can be done of tabarra is by retelling historical accounts of the people's actions, which will then make others judge them based on that. Yeah? If somebody has done something bad, I say Fulan has done something bad. Yeah? And I let people then form an opinion about Fulan. Yeah? So this is absolutely permitted in Islam. Yeah? To retell factual data, which will then allow people to form opinions about those people. Or it will be sufficient that accounting of historical data or factual data to show my tabarra from these type of people. Yeah? The second way is through insulting and abusing the people I want to do tabarra of. Yeah? This is absolutely not permitted in Islam. Yeah? To insult and to abuse and to curse people who I want to do tabarra of. This is absolutely not permitted in Islam, and in fact it is very clear from the teachings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala when He says, for example, in Surah number 6, وَلَا تَسُبُّوا الَّذِينَ يَدْعُونَ مِن دُونِ اللَّهِ فَيَسُبُّوا اللَّهَ عَدْوًا بِغَيْرِ عِلْمٍ. Yeah? He says, do not abuse those whom they invoke besides Allah, lest they should abuse Allah out of hostility. Yeah? Makes sense, doesn't it? If I abuse Fulan, Fulan will abuse me, isn't it? If I abuse somebody who Fulan loves, they will naturally abuse somebody whom I love, isn't it? And it is this action of abusing people that have caused people to abuse the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Yeah? And this is why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala clearly says this in the Quran, that abusing and insulting people is absolutely not permitted. And in fact, this is from the sunnah of Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam as well. We know a very famous incident from the Nahjul Balagha reported by Amirul Mu'mineen Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Yeah, don't form any opinions yet. Yeah, I'm not done. Yeah, so please, until the entire lecture is finished. During the Battle of Siffin, right, Imam alayhi salam saw that his companions were hurling abusive words towards Muawiyah and the camp of Muawiyah. Imam alayhi salam says, Inni akrahu lakum an takunu sabbabin. He says, I hate or dislike you abusing them in this manner. Yeah? I dislike this, that you become people who use abusive words. Right? So the people said to him, Amir al-Mu'mineen, what should we do then? He said, retell their actions. Right? And I'll quote what he said. But if you describe their deeds and recount their situations, that would be a better mode of speaking and a more convincing way of arguing. Yeah? Where you retell what they did. You don't have to throw abusive words at somebody. Right? Using abusive words is not part of our religion at all. Yeah? This is something that Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam have never done. So this is why we need to be very careful at the language we choose to speak with as well. Some people, because of maybe their jobs that they've had or the kind of company that they've kept, have a tendency of cursing. Yeah? This is one of the ugliest habits or ugliest form of language one can have. And so this is something that we are told not to be like. And it is based on this. It is based on that Quranic verse that I read and based on this sermon that was through the Nahjul Balagha, sermon number 204, for those who are interested. Our Maraja have subsequently issued fatwa on this subject about cursing and abusing. Okay? So I would like to read some fatwas from our Maraja. It was written to Ayatollah Sistani, Hafizahullah, about people who are insulting the three khulafa and the wives of the Prophet during a procession on the wafat of Imam Jawad. This happened in the month of Dhul Hajj. Yeah? While we were at Hajj, Sayyid Sistani issued a fatwa on this subject, and he said this behavior is condemned and strongly objectionable and is against what the Imams of the Ahlul Bayt had ordered their followers to do. Allah is the guide. Yeah? Very clear what Ayatollah Sistani says about those who insult and abuse the three khulafa. right? Ayatollah Khamenei, Hafidhahullah, has said, insulting the personalities of the Sunni brethren, including the wives of all the prophets, in particular those of the leader of the prophets, and accusing the wife of the Prophet of Islam is haram, forbidden. Very clear statement by Ayatollah Khamenei. Ayatollah Nasir Makarim Shirazi Hafidhahullah has said, our condemnation was publicized in the Global Wilayat channel, and we have condemned every kind of insult on the wives of the prophets. Yeah? These are absolute clear rulings from our Maraja, yeah? Based on the teachings of God and based on what our Imam alayhimus salam have taught us, which is why we are not allowed to insult them or abuse the three khulafa nor the wives of the prophets. Okay? Now, that being said, we are not talking about retelling historical accounts. Yeah? We must be able to separate retelling historical accounts from insulting and cursing at them. Yeah? Retelling a historical account is not insulting them. It is history. It is what happened. Yeah? And we must be able to differentiate the two. We must be able to, we cannot put aside the zulm that happened on Fatima alayhi salam. We cannot put aside, yeah? Hold off on those until I'm done with my lecture today. We cannot put aside I'm holding a glass. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. I felt like I was at home. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Yeah? So we are not compromising our beliefs when our Maraja tell us do not insult them. Okay? We are not. In fact, Ayatollah Nasir Makarim Shirazi puts it very beautifully, and he says, one should realize that insult is one thing and narrating history is something else. These are two fundamentally different issues. We cannot close our eyes to history and historical differences. These two should never be confused with one another. People should realize that historical issues cannot be forgotten. Yeah? We cannot forget what happened to the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. But just because we are saying we are not allowed to curse them does not mean that we are sweeping or hiding the historical facts that have been done. So inshallah, this point is abundantly clear here, and it has been made abundantly clear by our leading scholars. The third way of doing tabarra is by lanat. Yeah? So far I have not talked about lanat. I have talked about sab and shatam, which are insulting and abusing them. Yeah? I have not spoken about la'nat at all. La'nat, unfortunately, sab and shatam in Arabic mean to abuse, insult or curse. Okay? La'nat does not mean any one of those things. La'nat, unfortunately, due to cultural and different customs, has been taken to mean curse. Yeah? And in fact, in certain cultures, la'nat is almost a dirty word. Yeah? But it is not. Yeah? La'nat, in fact, is a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Yeah? When we do la'an, it is a form of dua that we are doing to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to remove His mercy from certain type of people. And in fact, when you look at most translations, la'nat is translated as curse. But to give a better translation of la'nat is to condemn. Yeah? So we are asking, oh Allah, condemn so and so for their actions. Yeah? Now, la'nat is part of our religion. Alright? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done la'an. Look at the Quran. How many times Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has done la'an? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Ahzab, verse 64, Inna Allaha la'ana al-kafirin wa adda lahum sa'ira. Indeed, Allah has condemned the faithless and prepared for them a firing blaze. Okay? The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam, salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, has done la'nat. If you just type in la'an and the Prophet's name in any database of hadith, you will find numerous hadith where the Prophet has done la'an. Again, why? Because it is not a filthy word. Okay, la'an is a dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So one example is la'an Allahu man qatala ghayra qatilihi aw daraba ghayra daribihi. He says, may Allah's la'an, or may Allah condemn the one who kills an innocent life, or may Allah condemn the one who hits somebody who has not done anything to him, for example. Right? The Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam have taught us la'an, isn't it? We recite in Ziyarat-e-Waritha every Thursday. We say, for example, what I quoted, فَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً قَتَلَتْكَ وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً ظَلَمَتْكَ. Right? So when you find that, I'm going to make a statement, yeah? And I'm afraid that this statement can be stopped here on video and said, this is what I am saying. But I'm saying the statement now that inshallah don't perceive what I'm going to say. We have found examples of God doing la'nat. We have found examples of the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam doing la'nat. Therefore, who are we not to do la'nat? Are we better than God to say that we won't do la'nat even though God has done la'nat? Are we better than the Ahlul Bayt by saying don't do la'nat even though they have done la'nat? Which brings me to my third question. In today's day and time, in today's environment, is it smart for me to do tabarra against different types of people? Is it smart for me to have animosity and hatred towards certain type of people? As far as insulting and abusing goes, sab and shatam, they are absolutely not permitted in Islam. Right? As far as historical facts and retelling historical facts, it is absolutely a part of our religion. Therefore, the only question where we can address this has to do with la'nat. Yeah? In today's day and time, is it smart? Yeah, we're not talking about permissibility. There's no question it is permissible. Yeah? You all with me? No question it is permissible. The question is, in today's environment, is it smart for me to do la'an on certain personalities? Okay? That is the question that I want to answer. And the third question. We have to keep two very important points in mind, my brothers and sisters. Yeah? The first point is that our enemy is not the Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah. Yeah? Our enemy is not the Ahlus Sunnah. Our enemy is the Wahhabis and the Salafis who have openly declared war upon Shias. Yeah? Mark my words. I'm trying to say this as clearly as possible. Our enemies are not the Ahlus Sunnah. Our open enemies are the Wahhabis and the Salafis who have openly waged war against us. When we do la'nat on the three khulafa, or when we do la'nat on the wives of the Prophet, there is a greater likelihood that the Ahlus Sunnah will side with the Wahhabis over us. Yeah? When they are not our enemies. Rather, our goal should be to have the Ahlus Sunnah side with us against the Wahhabis. Yeah? Because after the Wahhabis come after us, they will go after the Ahlus Sunnah. Yeah? So when we do la'an upon them, there is a greater likelihood that the Ahlus Sunnah will say that these Shias are not people who we want to associate with. So this is the first point that I want you to remember or understand. The second point that I would like you to keep in mind is that by doing la'nat upon the three khulafa, or on the wives of the Prophet, there is a high possibility that this action will result in innocent blood being spilled in different parts of the world. Yeah? Today, if a khatib, because I don't think a scholar would, but if a khatib or a zakir would sit on the mimbar and do la'nat upon the three khulafa, that same majlis could be heard in Pakistan, Afghanistan, in different parts of the world, at live or in matters of hours, and innocent lives will be taken because of that. Nobody can deny this. Yeah? Nobody can deny this. Therefore, I quoted a hadith last time at Jummah when I discussed this last time. And I would like to quote it here, and I'll read the English only. This hadith is found in Al-Kafi, where it is said, a man, a good man, a servant of God, is resurrected on the Day of Judgment. And as he is resurrected on the Day of Judgment, he is given a cup full of blood. Yeah? And he says, this is your portion of the blood you spilt on earth. Yeah? So the man is surprised. He looks at God and he says, Ya Allah, you know better than I do, that when you took my life, I had not shed blood on this earth. Yeah? I was innocent from this. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala replies back to him and He says, it's true that you yourself did not shed blood, but you retold a story or a hadith that you had heard. And others retold it after you until it reached the ears of a Jabbar, an oppressive tyrant. And because of what you had told, that oppressive tyrant killed an innocent man. So today you are as responsible as that oppressor who took that life. My brothers and sisters, if we sit here today and curse the three khulafa, not curse, do la'nat upon the three khulafa. Cursing is not permitted at all. Abusing them is not permitted at all. Right? If we sit here and do la'nat upon them or upon the wives of the Prophet, no matter what the historical differences are, these are people whom Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah hold dearly. They love them the way we love the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. How would we like it if somebody did la'an upon them? On the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam? We would not like it. Why do we think that they would like it? Right? So here, my brothers and sisters, we have to keep this in mind, that when we are doing la'an upon them, there is an effect that is taking place from the cause of me speaking in this manner. And I'd like to read a quote as well from Ayatollah Bahjat. May Allah raise his status in Jannah, inshallah. Has said, how often what is said in these gatherings result in the oppression or murder of Shias living in other countries where they are a minority. If even one drop of their blood is spilt as a result of someone's words, we will be a partner in that crime. Same thing which the hadith stated, that because of me doing la'an, so now the question that arises is, how dare you stop me from doing la'nat on the three khulafa? How dare, who are you to say that don't do la'nat? We've established, shatam and sab is not permitted. How dare you stop us from doing la'nat upon the wives of the Prophet? Or how dare you stop us from doing la'nat on the three khulafa? I give you two examples and we'll end. All right? The first example, from two examples from history. The first example is that of Ziyarat Ashura. In Ziyarat Ashura, in historical accounts, has been taught to us by our fifth and our sixth Imams, alayhim afdalus salatu wassalam. Salli ala Muhammad. This ziyarat is supposed to be recited on the day of Ashura. A day unlike any day in the history of this world. A day when the worst tragedy befell the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. Even then, our A'imma alayhimus salam do not do la'nat on the three khulafa. They do not do la'nat on the three khulafa. On the worst day ever in the history of the earth, and on the worst day repeated every year, the feeling we all know of the day of Ashura is a feeling of grief, isn't it? Sadness. On this day of sadness, the A'imma alayhimus salam do not do la'nat on the three khulafa. So then why should we do la'nat on the three khulafa? Alright? And additionally, what they do instead is they focus their prayers and their dua on other personalities. Right? So for example, in Ziyarat Ashura, they say, Allahumma al'an Aba Sufyan, wa Muawiyah, wa Yazid ibn Muawiyah. Yes, Allahumma al'an them jami'an. They say in Ziyarat Ashura, فَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ آلَ زِيَادٍ وَآلَ مَرْوَانٍ وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ بَنِي أُمَيَّةَ قَاطِبَةً. All of them. Allah subhanahu, then they say, وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ ibn Marjana, وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ عُمَرَ ibn Sa'ad, وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ شِمْرَ, وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً أَسْرَجَتْ وَأَلْجَمَتْ وَتَهَيَّعَتْ لِقِتَالِكَ يَا أَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ. There's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with doing la'nat on these personalities. These are personalities who shed the blood of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. These are personalities who shed the blood of the grandson of the Prophet. In fact, not only should we continue doing la'nat upon them, we should actually invite the Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah to do la'nat upon these people as well. Because Tabarra is not just wajib for us, Tabarra is wajib for them as well. And who greater than to do Tabarra upon than these personalities who tried to remove the light of God from earth altogether. Yeah? So this is the first example that I give you. That even on the day of Ashura, you don't find them doing la'nat upon the three khulafa, but they are doing la'nat, which proves the point that we said earlier. La'nat is part of our religion. Okay? The second point, the second example that I'd like to give you is the peace treaty that was signed by our second Imam, Imam al-Hasan al-Mujtaba, alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. With Muawiyah, la'natullahi alayhi. Yeah? This peace treaty, the more I ponder over this treaty, I believe that this was, in my estimation, one of the greatest acts of tabarra ever done by a man. Ever. To sit and realize that signing this treaty will save the Muslim Ummah. Yeah? This, my brothers and sisters, is what is required from us today. Yeah? By signing this treaty, the Imam does not mean that now he gets along with Muawiyah. Yeah? By signing this treaty, the Imam is not saying that he has forgotten what Muawiyah and his family have done. Yeah? By signing this treaty, the Imam is no way compromising with Muawiyah. Rather, by signing this treaty, our Imam alayhi salam saved Islam. Yeah? For the greater good of the Muslim Ummah, our Imam alayhi salam signed this treaty. Today we have a choice, yeah? To save innocent lives, yeah? To join hands with our Sunni brothers and sisters to stand up against the growing threat of the Wahhabis and the Salafis. Today we need to sign a similar treaty. Yeah? And we cannot do la'nats upon the three khulafa or the wives of the Prophet, because there are lives at stake. Yeah? Again, I think I have discussed this very clearly today. Yeah? And I believe all questions that came to my mind have been answered. And if you still have any questions, listen to this lecture one more time. It will answer your question. Yeah? Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. This is the complete wajibat of Tawalla and Tabarra. Yeah? It is no doubt, as we have discussed, the greatest wajibat that we have, because it is based on the concept of love and hate. And our entire religion is based on the concept of love and hate. The more I have discussed or understood and researched about love, the more a newer understanding I am getting of our religion. Yeah? And one of the greatest loves that has ever been shown was the love that Imam al-Husayn had for his daughter Sakina. It is said in numerous accounts that a house without Sakina is not worth living in. Yeah? This is no doubt the joy that Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam found every time he looked at Sakina. And this is a gift from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to a girl. For if ever you have a girl in the house, a daughter in the house, you know the type of light she brings to that house. This love that Imam al-Husayn alayhi salam had for Sakina was not just saved or not just done by him. In fact, it is said that all of the household had this immense love for Sakina. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas alayhi salam, it is said that when the Qafila was going from Medina to Makkah and Makkah towards Karbala, time and time again it is reported that Hazrat Abbas would come back and check to see how Sakina was doing. And say that, "Oh Sakina, do you need anything? Oh Sakina, oh Ruqayya, can I get anything for you?" And this same love and affection was felt by Sakina towards her uncle Abbas. For as long as Abbas was alive, Sakina knew that there was a chance for her to get water. As long as Abbas was alive, Sakina knew that the women would be safe. For as long as Abbas was alive, Sakina knew that the life of her father would be safe. But it is reported that these cries of Al-Atash, Al-Atash that were coming from the children, when Abbas went towards the river Euphrates and never came back, Sakina no longer asked for water after that. Sakina no longer said Al-Atash because she knew that the backbone of her father had gone. This was Sakina. It is reported that when the Imam alayhi salam came for his final wida, and when he came upon his horse, and as he was about to go, a small voice of a child from behind said, Ya Abata, wait a second. Oh my father, wait for a second. Imam al-Husayn looks down and sees Sakina. She says, so my father, come down from the horse. How can a father refuse the wish of his daughter? Imam al-Husayn comes down from the horse. Sakina says, oh my father, sit down. Sit down. Imam al-Husayn sits down. Sakina says, let me sit on your lap one last time, Ya Abata, and rub my hair like I am an orphan, O Abata. It is said Imam al-Husayn embraced Sakina, and then Sakina, it is said at that moment, fell asleep. Historians report that after a few seconds, Sakina wakes up and she says, go my father, go. I have finished with you. Imam al-Husayn says, Sakina, what happened? Few seconds ago you wanted to be with me. Now you are telling me to go. Sakina says, oh Abata, I saw my grandmother Fatima in my dream, and she told me, Sakina, please let my son come to me. Oh Sakina, allow your father to come to me. The tragedies that must have been seen by Sakina. What she saw on that day, my brothers and sisters, may Allah protect all of us from seeing that on the night of Sham-e Ghariba. It is reported that Zainab alayha salam began to gather all of the family. When she gathered all of the family, she noticed that one child was missing. Zainab alayha salam goes towards the plains of Karbala. She keeps asking the headless bodies, have you seen Sakina? Have you seen my daughter Sakina? At this time, one headless body whispers, Zainab, be quiet. Zainab, lower your voice, for Sakina is finally asleep. Zainab comes to that headless body. She lifts her up. She takes her back towards the tents. She asks Sakina, oh Sakina, how did you know that that was your father? She says, oh my Aunt Zainab, when the enemies came and burned our tents, when the enemies snatched off my earrings, I ran towards the pains, screaming from my father, when a body cried out, Ilayya, Ilayya, Bunayya, come towards me, my daughter, come towards me, Sakina. It is said Sakina is placed. Sakina says, oh my Aunt Zainab, when I was asleep, my father spoke to me in my dream. She says, what did your father say? He says, my father reported, Shi'ati ma in sharabtum, ma in sharibtum, ma azbin fadhkuruni, aw sami'tum bi gharibin, أو شهيد فاندبوني ليتكم في يوم عاشوراء جميعا تنظروني. The tragedy of Sakina continues, my brothers and sisters. Our hearts cannot handle what happened to Sakina as they went from Karbala to Kufa. From Kufa to Sham. Who knew that this young girl will spend her final moments in the dungeons of Sham? It is reported that every night Sakina would cry for her father Husayn. On one particular night, it is said that Sakina wakes up from her sleep and she begins to cry uncontrollably. When Zainab says, oh Sakina, why are you crying in this manner? Sakina says, I saw my father in my dream and he said that soon I will be coming to him. It is said that the ladies and the children in the dungeons began to cry. The voice of the crying went into the palace of Yazid. Yazid wakes up and asks his guards, why are these women crying in this manner? She says, the guards reply back, the daughter of Husayn wants to be with her father. Yazid la'natullahi alayh, he says, then take the head of Husayn to them. It is said the head of Imam al-Husayn comes on a tray with a hand with a handkerchief on top of the head. When the handkerchief was removed, Ruqayya looks at the head of Imam al-Husayn and she says, oh my father, who has made me into an orphan? Oh my father, who has painted your beard red with blood? It is that Sakina, in this uncontrollable crying, places her cheek next to the cheek of her father, when all of a sudden her crying stops. Zainab looks at Sajjad and she says, oh my son Sajjad, it looks like she has finally fallen asleep. Sajjad goes and finds that Sakina is no longer there. ومظلومة ماتم يا حسين